Hey, I'm Jaan and I'm from Socialist Alternative. In this video, I'll basically be going over one of the most important debates in socialist politics, and that's reform or revolution, and sort of an argument as to why we at Socialist Alternative are revolutionaries. So to begin, let's look at reformism. Reformists argue that the way change happens in society is through parliamentary or legislative means. Essentially that politicians will pass law in government and in parliament, and this will gradually transition us from a capitalist society into a socialist society. Some of the most prominent reformists of today are Jeremy Corbyn and Bernie Sanders, both of whom use the term democratic socialism. And what they mean by that is generally like a large welfare state, free healthcare, free education, and more worker representation in business. All of which are great reforms, but ultimately democratic socialism is constrained by the fact that it works within the capitalist system. So why are reformists constrained by the capitalist state? Well, we should first look at sort of what the role the state plays under capitalism is. The state acts as the body which enforces the class rule of the capitalists over the working class. And as Lenin argues in State and Revolution, the capitalist state is not just this instrument of oppression and exploitation, but it is the direct result of these irreconcilable class antagonisms. This is why revolutionaries argue that the state must be destroyed, because it is integral to the running of capitalism. Further, because it's the actual framework of the state which enforces class rule and not just like the political makeup of it. Electing a socialist into government won't change and it won't erase the antagonisms that are inherent within class society. This is why revolutionaries argue that reformism isn't a viable strategy for change in society because it works within the capitalist system itself. Revolutionaries argue that the real change in society comes from the power of the working class in the form of revolution. Firstly, revolution is the only way in which all scraps of capitalist society can be completely destroyed and washed away. This is because revolution involves smashing the institutions of class rule and replacing it with working class institutions of power. Comment below if you want to see a whole other video on the workers' state, because there are a lot of misconceptions and it's quite an interesting topic to go into. Secondly, the working class is the only class in society that has the ability to achieve revolution, and this is because of their relationship to production. Because workers are the class in society that make everything function and they produce everything, and the fact that they are exploited by the bourgeoisie for profit, they have both the material interests and the means to overthrow the oppressive system. Not to mention the fact that workers are the majority in society. Importantly, the working class can only use their power when organized and united in a common interests against the capitalist class. Not through voting, but through mass action. I think the reformist project is in the weakest state it has been for years, and I think that's a big result of the rise and fall of leaders like Bernie Sanders and Jeremy Corbyn. A lot of hope was put into these leaders, and a lot of hope was lost when they sort of fell back into supporting the system, like Sanders endorsing Clinton in 2016 and Biden in 2020. And I think this was a really sort of enlightening moment for many. I think young people especially are beginning to become much more disillusioned with party politics and electoralism as a whole. I think this is also why the recent Black Lives Matter protests, especially in America, have had such a radical edge. And I think it's not inconsequential that they've been out on the street protesting and winning things. I think this shows that the way change happens in society is not through electing socialists into parliament, but it's through mass action and it's through mass radical action on the streets. Sucking up to politicians isn't going to get them anywhere. And it's in fact through realizing their own power and their own interests on the street that actually change happens. People are beginning to realize that the politicians and parliament will always serve the interests of the ruling class. And ultimately, that's why I think the reformist project is doomed to fail time and time again, and why revolutionary politics is the only way in which human society can achieve true liberation for everyone.